Hi, my name is Stephanie, and today I have with me Rosey and Angela. We are part of a group called Tiger Talk Ethics, and today we will be discussing the issue of Tillman Hall on campus and whether or not we should change the name of the building.
Okay, so just starting out, I did a little research on the history behind Tillman Hall, and I discovered that it was constructed in 1893, and it didn't receive the name until 1946, and of course we know the name now comes from Benjamin Tillman, and this name was selected by Clemson's Board of Trustees, and to this day they're the ones in charge of being able to change it or not. And so a little research on Ben Tillman tells us that he was a politician of the Democratic Party and was a governor of South Carolina from 1890 to 1894, and he was also a U.S. Senator. And in Wikipedia, it lists him as a white supremacist who often spoke out against blacks, and you can read some of his speeches that involve that kind of talk. He was also, during his 4 years in office, 18 African Americans were lynched in South Carolina, and he spoke out trying to prevent the lynchings, but also spoke in support of the lynch mobs at the same time, stating his own willingness to lead one. We know that during Tillman's era, there were plenty of people who probably had the same mindset as him. So what do you think that we're only focusing on Tillman Hall, and maybe there's other things that we should be looking at on Clemson's campus?
Well, I feel like today, generally society wants to create, people in societies want to create a society that's acceptable for everybody. So I think that seems to be a bigger issue, that people want to create a diverse melting pot where everybody feel like they have a say or they have a place or they fit in society. So, in which that should be an ideal place where everybody can reside. But what would be the ethical issue as far as changing the name of Tillman? I don't think that would necessarily, changing the name would rectify the situation. Can't go back and change the past, and I think that's what people think, that if we change the name, we'll change the past. And what actually happened? We can't do that. We have to move forward and accept history for what it was. But at the same time, we don't want to be offensive to other people. So I think there should be an open dialogue about it, and I think that's the ethical way to address the issue, is to have an open dialogue about it and find out how people feel about it.
Well, I think what people are forgetting is that Clemson is a Southern school, and all the founders of Clemson, there was a completely different mindset back in their day. Things were a lot different, and back then it was okay to own slaves. It was just the way things were. You know what I mean? So I feel like to talk about changing the name of the building now isn't going to change how things were in the past. All we can do is, accept the way it was.
Mm-hmm. You hear a lot of people say that, it's the principle of the thing, or it's fundamental, it affects our fundamental values to have something like this on campus. And but I do think it is important, like you said, just to be able to talk about it. And I do think we have facilitated discussion this semester where it, really got brought to light. But like you said, as far as, the ethics issues go, I don't see either where changing the name does anything for, the people who were affected by Ben Tillman in the past.
Right.
He affects no one now, and maybe his name does. And if it does affect you, it wouldn't bother me to get it changed. It's just one of those things where it wouldn't bother me, but I don't know how it would help you either.
Right.
Those who want to change. So, it has already, come to pass that the Board of Trustees didn't change the name. So I feel like that's that. And if you want to, keep an open dialogue, like you said, we do need to address these issues because there are some things that are going on with race relations on campus and everywhere across the nation. So the ethical thing to do here would just be to talk about it and, raise awareness about it. And it shouldn't be a hush-hush issue, especially, in the Southeast where we do get a lot of, publicity about being not necessarily racist, but there being a lot of stereotyping and all that kind of stuff because of our history.
I personally feel like we should just forgive what happened in the past and just move on, because I think if you focus more on the past, then you're not going to be able to forgive, if that makes sense. You should just, accept it for it's a time where none of us today can relate to, like you said.
Right.
So we should just forgive and move on.
Well, also, basically what's in the name. He's not around anymore. Granted, the Tillman Hall is named after him, but he's gone. He has no influence on the university anymore, so I don't really think it should matter.
Well, actually, if you think about it, African Americans are actually benefiting from the building because they're getting an education there. So that's
Right.
something that
He didn't want.
But so
It's almost like a prove you wrong kind of thing.
Exactly.
yeah.
You wonder if some people feel a sense of pride knowing that they can do that and they
Right.
can prove, the founding person wrong. about
Right,
that kind
they,
of stuff.
yeah, it's almost like you could look at it that way as that's correcting history if you want to look at it that way.
Knowing that, what do you think would be the next move for Clemson's student body, or should they keep, harping on this one issue locally, or should this be something that they try to focus on like a bigger issue at hand that's around the nation or in the state, or what do you think should be the
I
next
think
move?
we can focus on so many other things besides the name of an old building. If anything, I think we take it as a learning experience and just move on from the fact. They're not going to change the name of the building, and it doesn't help to harp on it.
How does the university move on with incoming classes of freshmen? That do they use this and immediately talk about it when trying to sell the university to new sets of students, or is it something that they acknowledge but don't really expand on in their dialogue with new students?
I think they just continue to sell the university the way they've always done. You don't necessarily need to bring more light to the subject. If somebody asks about it, go ahead and address the issue. But overall, people should come to Clemson based off of academics and things like that. They shouldn't come based off the name of the building or not come.
Yeah, because I'm not from this state, so I'd never heard of Ben Tillman, and it doesn't affect me either way because it happened, way before my time. So I don't. It's not an issue for me, but for another person, if it's a problem for them, let's talk about it. Most kids today, I think, it doesn't bother them. It's just
Right.
it's just a building. So,
Right.
but I guess it depends on your background and how you center yourself, as a person, and how you feel, how you're going to move forward, in life. So I don't know. I guess I think it's individual.
Like a solution for everything would almost be if you were accountable for your own actions as an individual today, not dwelling on the past. You could work together to make the world a better place, and we wouldn't have to worry about discrimination amongst the races, or just being good to each other would
Yeah.
probably be the best way to solve these kinds of issues.
And that's the thing. I think most people just want to be heard anyway.
Yeah.
You almost wonder if the name changing kind of happened really quickly, that a lot of people jumped on board, and it was almost as if you didn't want to not jump on board because you were afraid of being in the group that wasn't the
Yeah.
biggest population. And I think a lot of people want a quick fix
Yeah.
in society, and I think that was one of the big reasons that people jumped onto it, and they didn't really do their research behind it or think about does it really matter, because you want to say, hey, if we change this building's name, then we're all friends, and we don't like the past, the white supremacy that happened in the South in the past, and we're different now. And so I think that's what a lot of people were thinking when they
Yeah.
wanted to be in support of that name change.
Okay, well, ladies, I think that was a good discussing point for today, and hopefully we've given you something to think about.